say if I was to say to you, what 10 herbs should be in a first aid kit for a family?
Yes. Well, one would be liquid bandage, which comes from a tree in the Amazon, and the sap in a tree actually is there also not only to take nutrients through, but also to heal the tree if it's attacked by an animal or whatever. And it works amazingly on our own system, and that's why we call it liquid bandage. I do carry that around always in my glove box in case there's a road accident, internal hemorrhaging, and all that sort of stuff. The other would be a feeder. But by doing it at the moment, I would be committing.
We're in a perfect world.
Yes.
10
yes.
herbs in a first aid.
Okay, if they allowed me to, I would carry a feeder, both for anybody suffering an emergency asthma attack or sinus, also to stop a cold coming on. The other is definitely, and I do carry it, is propolis.
Mm-hmm.
Propolis, as soon as you get that tickle in your throat, you put it on your throat, it kills the flu virus, the cold virus. It always does, always will, even though they say there isn't anything. And propolis also for infections, it's antibacterial, antifungal, so that would be another one. Damiana for sure, not because it's a healer, but it's an immediate pickup for anxiety or feeling low or depressed, not necessarily for your own use, but to help others out. What's another one for
That's
emergency?
particularly good for ladies as well, is it, Damiana?
Oh, Damiana's a wonderful one. It's an amazing herb actually, and it's like my partner was asked what she would take to a desert island if she could only take one herb, and she said Damiana immediately, because she said if you felt even lonely on that desert island, you could take the Damiana and pick your spirits up. I actually answered cannabis, and that would be a herb that I would also carry in my emergency pack for various reasons, both for pleasure and also it's as we know good for pain, but it's also good for I guess at times when you're just feeling like a pickup there. I would have that myself personally. I'm just trying to think of some others that I would carry in the emergency kits. A painkiller, that's for sure. Unfortunately, you'll notice that all the painkillers are banned. But personally, I would like to carry perhaps a little bit of opium for anybody who's in pain or myself in pain. I don't really think painkillers that are available from the chemist or through a doctor really do work, and they're bad for you anyway.
And being fortified.
Yeah, actually I'm thinking of not that I carry opium, but I'm thinking of what I do carry in my little medicine bag. I carry coltsfoot for the sore throat again, for a cough, and also handy to give to people if they are coughing, because it fixes it immediately. Campaign is another one. Campaign is marvellous for any throat infection or mouth infection. I would carry Campaign. I think that's about 6 or 7, but they're certainly the main ones that I would carry, yes.
Do you see whether or not the legislators, because the government ministers have to be young girls, the older ministers have moved on, so is their generation.
Yes.
Well, we wish they have the same rights as every other bit.
That's a good question. I actually think that what you're hinting at there is right, because that's why there is a change perhaps coming in California, because Obama has grown up in that younger generation, and he has allowed, this wasn't publicised by the way, but I know this is a fact, why California can even vote for the legalisation perhaps or decriminalisation of cannabis is Obama said, stepped back and made a statement to all of the American states that the federal government wouldn't intervene if they changed any drug laws, providing their citizens obeyed their drug laws, however they were changed, the federal government would stay right out of it. And that's what's given the freedom to perhaps change the laws. And that's why some governments are looking at taxing cannabis use, decriminalising certain drug use. It's already been proved in Portugal, where they actually decriminalise, and you're allowed to have even heroin, ecstasy, whatever, in small quantities. You're not allowed to deal in it, you're allowed to possess it. I think that's a very humane law. Actually, they thought there might be an escalation in drug use. It's actually gone down. So,
well, I've heard too that if you use that particular intoxicant, ayahuasca, DMT, a lot of people would give up intoxication full stop.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
they get realisation of why on earth they've got a problem in the first place.
And there was a stage where I was actually selling DMT in a diluted, safe form, and we had a big crackdown 2 years ago by the Australian Crime Commission. They cracked down on this substance as if it was a drug, and that would be perhaps accepted if it was addictive, which it's not. If it was harmful, which it's not. It actually has benefits, and I still wonder to this day why we had that crackdown. I mean, we have 20 shops, a coordinated raid, listening into our phones for a year. One policeman confided that the whole exercise, which came to nothing in the end, but nevertheless harassed us greatly and traumatised some of us.
Absolutely.
We went into secret courts. I'm not even actually allowed to tell you or anybody about this until 2013. I can go to jail for 2 years for telling you what I was only going to tell you, just about what happened in the court. But what's worse, if you tell somebody else what I tell you, you can go to jail for 2 years. So, believe it or not, behind the scenes in Australia, it's pretty scary. There are bodies that have not only these powers, but I think might even be corrupt, because I think to spend $250,000 on a natural against a natural product, which comes from the wattle tree, dimethyltryptamine, to spend $250,000 on trying to crack down on it, and also pulling out all of the alternative ecstasy products in our shop, denying us them for 3 months. I actually wondered about it, whether it was really coming from the government or the underworld. Because
Well, in our society, we glorify the underbellies of this world.
yes, we do. We even
make
have
them
television
heroes,
programs.
and everyone watches it repeatedly. What are we
Yes.
supposed to learn from that?
I don't
how to
know.
deal drugs, how to be a jerk,
Yes.
how to be violent,
Yes,
how to
exactly.
murder people,
Yes.
how to corrupt the police force, all those things. And yet we're scared to go out on our own streets because of alcohol
Yes.
and probably a few pills
Yes.
mixed in.
Yes.
And all of a sudden everyone's violent.
Yes.
All the family folk want to stay at home, couldn't possibly go to Saturday night at the cinema in the
No,
city.
no, not at all.
And yet we're going to see that then drift into the shopping malls as well.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen.
Yes, yes,
They
yeah.
don't isolate the problem.
Yes. And it could be all fixed by decriminalisation, regulation, and not prohibiting alcohol, but certainly cutting down the venues and the hours where it's made available. I grew up in the 6 o'clock swill days, and that had improved. I think there was a midnight closure, but now, people can be drinking at 5 in the morning, or I think even 24 hours, and this is not helping.
No.
This is not helping the
No,
situation.
it is retarded.
Yes.
It is brainless,
Oh,
in
yes.
my opinion,
Yes.
that anyone who supports the alcohol industry, the only reason anyone would really use alcohol
Yeah.
is for fraternising with the opposite sex,
Yes. Yes.
because it's an icebreaker.
Yes. Yes.
The other thing is that you might use alcohol to improve your sort of heroic or just
Yes.
how good you really are.
Yes.
Might like your ego attack before you become,
Yes. Yeah.
what's under its influence.
Yes.
But otherwise,
Yeah.
what on earth is it good for?
Yeah.
It only makes people's skin go all bad.
Yes.
Drink it too
Yeah.
much. As you
And
said,
liver.
sclerosis of the liver.
Yes.
Smashes the kidneys.
Yep. It's a
Brings down
poison,
your
really.
immune system.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, it also diminishes your vocabulary.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't
Yes.
find intelligent alcoholics.
No. Exactly. Yeah.
So-
So we condone the worst drug, really, the most damaging drug.
Well, recently they did a study on the top 20 drugs in England, and this is scientific, doctors worked it out. They said that if alcohol was introduced as a new drug, they said that they'd have to classify it higher on the list than any other
That's
intoxicant.
interesting.
Right? It's not worse than heroin.
Yes.
It's worse than every single thing, because it messes up your sight, hearing, balance, you're impaired, you shouldn't handle machinery.
No.
And then they try
So
and
it's a
say
bad drug.
this brand or that brand, it's an Australian tradition and things like that.
Yes.
And I think to myself, you know, we had an alternative. The first alternative counterculture was in 1960, insane.
Yes.
They called it the hippies. I think
Yes.
13 years earlier, the Bohemians really started.
Yeah.
The Maynard G. Krebs in this world.
Yeah.
They've invented the word cool.
Yeah.
They listen to jazz.
Yeah.
And they, the first counterculture. But let me say this, that if it wasn't for that counterculture thinking different,
Oh.
we'd still be in the Vietnam War.
Oh. Yes, exactly. I think that's what they were getting at this conference. At that point in time, LSD changed. There was a change happening in society because people were thinking more deeply and bonding more and becoming more aware. And then, of course, that drug, that opening drug, I guess, was taken away and forced back to being forced into alcohol again. I guess basically that's what it is. And that's why young kids are hitting alcohol more, because they can get away with drinking alcohol. And I can understand that. I actually
Their parents were
sympathise
likely
with that.
binge drinkers themselves.
Yeah, I grew up with that. Yeah.
Because I worked it out some time ago. If you actually look how a couple come together, the likelihood is when they actually have sex and procreate,
Yes,
the
yes.
likelihood is they're intoxicated on alcohol.
I've never thought about that, but I'd say the
Christmas?
majority of...
Christmas makes all the
Yes.
Leo and the Virgo
Yes,
children.
I'm a Virgo kid, yep.
And Easter makes all the December children.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I never thought about that, how alcohol has probably brought most of our parents together. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So they were already intoxicated
Yeah.
before their pants fell. Right?
Yeah. No, that's the point. Yes. We've all got alcoholic fetal syndrome.
Well, there's a strong likelihood.
Oh, I shouldn't laugh about that. I've got somebody living close to me who has got that. Her parents are alcoholics, and you can see it in all the time in everything she does. In actual fact, she's sort of stunted in growth and in intellectual capacity because of that. And I feel very sorry for our Aboriginal population because they've got nothing else, much else to do, and we're not helping them in that regard. They turn to alcohol, and in every generation, it's really sad, in every generation they are stunted emotionally and mentally.
I saw something on the news. We're looking right now at the Soccer World Cup in South Africa, and they're saying where apartheid began. And I look at the idea that maybe the South African authorities learnt some of those apartheid things from Joe Peterson and the Queensland government. Because they're all voters, they're all South Africans.
Yes.
I'm not trying to be rude to all South Africans,
Yes.
but I'm pretty sure you'll find that there's a sneaky little story. Some of those South African ministers came out and learned how do you handle the Aborigines from the Peterson.
Yes, and I see it now. I actually saw it when I travelled America recently. I saw where all the Indian reservations were, and they're all in barren, deserty areas. And I thought, hang on a minute. They were I thought they were put there so they could hunt and all this, but there's nowhere to hunt. It's desert. And I thought we've done the same to our own Aboriginal population, and the same in South Africa. This is where we've shunted black people, and then we sort of throw money at them, but we don't give them home ownership.
Yeah, but we're only throwing money at them because we're going to take it back across the cash registers, take the place, claim the tax, and give that as a donation to the government.
Yes.
Otherwise, there's nothing spiritual, there's nothing normal at all about how we treat our original Australia.
No, not at all. We treat them
I've got another question here. Is the question DMT?
Yes.
Do you think Aboriginal elders at one point were using the black bottle scene?
I actually used to wonder about that myself, but I'm starting to think there's no doubt about it really, because they used to smoke themselves in wattle leaves, And because they were unpolluted as we are, you know, we're sort of thicker and we've taken in all the pollutants over the generations and all that, they were very close to the earth. I think that, and there's some wattle leaves actually will give enough of DMT just in their smoke. I really believe that's what's led to their dream time. And if you ever have a dimethyltryptamine experience, you'll relate to the dream time, the dots and the colours, and I really do think that they perhaps, I don't think they would have done the ayahuasca because they didn't have the Mayo inhibitor that's needed. But I think that by just very smoking of the wattle tree, they probably got their dream time. I do think so.
I think that the indigenous peoples, Ray, they're susceptible to alcohol because they haven't had it in their genetic code for as long as Westerners, white folk have. But I'm sure that we only use that to go to war. And
exactly. Yes.
Procreate at the festivities.
Yes.
That sort of thing.
Well, I was just hearing only yesterday about this book, which I'm wanting to read now, and it was saying that beer only developed through earlier fermentation of herbs to preserve them. And that's where mugwort came
hops,
from.
I'd imagine, has a pharmaceutical value.
Yes, and hops was a sedative, and I think perhaps the taste, you know, we began to like, and then it evolved into the beer we drink today. But it originally started off as just as a process to preserve certain herbs like mugwort and St. John's wort and hops wort. They were all beers.
One last question.
Yep.
Many people who can't afford, or for whatever reasons, how they've been trained, they're using tobacco and cannabis together. It seems to me that that's rasa-bas, means tastes in an opposite direction.
Yes.
One's actually good for your lungs.
Yes.
It expresses mucus off it.
Yes.
I think tincture and cannabis is doing. And the other one's closing down and give you black spot and lung cancer and everything else. What would you suggest is the right thing to mix?
Yes.
Take the toxicity out of cannabis.
It is a dangerous habit, and it's used universally actually. And the other thing about nicotine is it makes you brighter, where in a way cannabis can make you sort of more relaxed and a bit dopier. So they do work against each other. But the worst thing is, and I became aware of it myself, I can tell you why, is that years ago when I was smoking cannabis with tobacco, I was hanging out for a joint and I was getting irritable, and my partner came up and asked me something and I snapped at her and went, goodness, where's this coming from? And then I realised it was the nicotine. I was withdrawing from nicotine, which brings about irritability. I wasn't craving the cannabis. I thought I was. I was craving the nicotine in the cannabis. So what's happened is when you mix nicotine and cannabis, you're actually creating more of an addiction than you would if you just certainly had cannabis on its own. And besides, one will find that cannabis works better on its own anyway. You haven't got that jolt of the tobacco, but the actual effect.
Spin.
The nicotine spin. Just another drug.
So what would you suggest to mix it with?
Oh, certainly, if you're going to mix it at all, there's wonderful herbs like damiana or passion flower is a good one. Colt's foot, now, you can't really get that now because
what
it
about
is
calamus?
restricted.
I've heard of that. Never heard of that.
Oh, yeah, but don't imagine smoking it. Yeah, because it comes up as a powder. But you could sprinkle it, but as a proper mixture. And besides, I do recommend to people that they mix their cannabis 50% with any other herb. Because in doing that, they're cutting down their use of cannabis. They're not diluting the effects so much. They're certainly saving money. And any herb will do, but any herb except tobacco really.
And if they decriminalise marijuana, I'd imagine the price will have to drop.
Oh, yes.
Because
it's ridiculous. I think currently it's $350, $400 an ounce. We sell Damiana herb, an ounce of Damiana herb, that's 28 grams. We sell that for $20, and that comes in from Mexico. So it's transported all the way here, fully imported, for $20, which shows you how grossly overpriced cannabis is. Cannabis could sell for that much, yeah. If they can export Damiana, make a profit, the importer make a profit, our distributor make a profit, we make a profit for $20, so that could be with cannabis too. There's no, it's silly that it's $400 or $350 an ounce, that's for sure.
Yes. Great, Thorpe. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm hoping to catch up with you again.
Yes, I look forward to it.
Good.
Thank you.
God bless. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. That went quite well. We did very well, didn't we? Amateurs.
No, our hearts.
Yeah, that's right. I better go in and relieve my girl, I guess. Oh, thanks for the opportunity. I mean that. It's great.
Thank you.
I might see you up north sooner or later.
All right, I'll see you back at the
Lamble, here we go.